Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Steven Universe episode reviews. This is going to be for the episodes called Familiar, Together, Alone and Escapism. I think season 5 episode 25, 26 and 27. So it's been a pretty long break since the last episode that we got. So definitely, you know, the airing of this show remains a huge issue in that, like, what show takes a break in between episode like 24 and 25 of a season for that many months and then comes back right in the middle of kind of something important going on? So I still don't really know what's up. I know it's mostly Cartoon Network's problem, scheduling, more so than any sort of like production problems necessarily that the show has or any of the people involved in creating it. But it's definitely frustrating from a viewing perspective to just get the flow of a season when it's so broken up like this. Thankfully, when they have come back here, they've aired these episodes weekly. I think we're off next week, but then we're back the following week with an hour-long episode, which I'm sure, is that like a finale type thing or what? Because, you know, 28 episodes isn't the usual length, and like we've had a couple of double-length episodes, so that's all up in the air still, but you know, I think the 3 episodes we got here are a little bit of a mixed bag. I think the first 2 are actually good. The most recent episode, I suppose today's episode, Escapism, it just like, it had like an aspect of like a minute or two of the episode sort of, you know, move the plot forward in terms of getting other characters to come to Homeworld. But the rest of the episode, I don't know what it was doing. I'll get to it in a second. And then as far as the first 2 are concerned, Familiar and Together Alone, I thought they were obviously better than the 3rd episode, but I don't think there was too much to discuss. That's why, like, I suppose after the first episode aired, I didn't straight away do an episode review on it, just because I didn't have a ton to say about it, and I still don't really. I think the main thing to talk about from these episodes is mainly, I suppose, the position that Steven is in here. That now that Yellow, White, and Blue consider Steven, they understand the situation and consider him to be Pink Diamond now, it's this kind of confusing situation where they want to accept him back as Pink Diamond, but obviously they have to sort of teach him what it is to sort of be a diamond. But that is the way, that is kind of sort of entrenching him then within the culture that he sort of wants to actually go against. And he's trying to do all of this stuff to sort of change it in a fun way and sort of make, you know, Homeworld more like the Crystal Gems. But in doing so, he sort of has to be someone that he's not, just to sort of be friendly with Yellow, Blue, and White, who is still a kind of an enigma kind of in the background, with not particularly being involved in anything. And from the dialogue from Yellow and Blue, you get the impression that White doesn't listen to anyone. She just has her own thoughts on stuff, and is happy with like Yellow and Blue for the most part doing what they need to do, but has no real like ear open for any sort of change or anything like that. And that's what Steven tried to do in the 2nd episode by throwing that kind of party, and of course no one attended. And what actually happened was that I suppose White Pearl attended, but I suppose we're going to get some reveal down the road where, you know, the Pearl that we know, main character Pearl, was actually like originally White Pearl. And then I think in the first episode here, Steven had like a dream about the character design that is clearly White Pearl now, but she was clearly pink, like a pink pearl type thing. So I assume some sort of thing happened where like she got damaged in some way and became like White's Pearl, and then you know, Pink, like there's a bit of moving around that they have to do to get to, I suppose, the exact situation that we have now. But I thought that was very notable that sort of Steven had the sort of a memory of White Pearl as she sort of used to be. So that's going to be interesting to see, along with the whole idea of like what they've been sort of playing with most of this season, which is like, in terms of Steven, how much of him like is just his mother, how much of whatever happened there is just a case where you have to treat Stephen as his mother or not. It's really the whole Avatar type thing that they're kind of playing with here, where effectively, Stephen has been sort of like reincarnated to a degree from his mother. But the way the reincarnation works is that the person is a different person, even though there's like an essence to them that is the same. But there are their own people, and that's what I suppose is a struggle for Yellow and Blue and White to accept, that yes, Stephen is technically Pink Diamond, but it's not the Pink they knew. And Pink, as they sort of realize, wasn't necessarily the person they knew either, and they just had to accept the fact that this person that they seem to like is just not going to be someone who just falls into line. And I suppose the question that we have is ultimately, like, is Stephen going to think that there's hope for Yellow and Blue to turn things around if he can maybe get through to White in some way? Because White seems to just have utter dominance over the two of them. And as much as like there were moments where like we came back to the fact that Yellow and Blue are still, even though we have a little bit more hope for them now, seeing them be a little bit more open and sort of happy that Pink is back, they still sort of shut Stephen down on a lot of more the kind of creative things he wanted to do with the banquet, the party, and they just wanted him to be the boring diamond that sort of he's expected to be, that Pink was expected to be, and that didn't go to plan, and this isn't going to plan. And that's when, of course, the big kind of action of these episodes happen, which is the banquet goes wrong, everyone starts to fuse, initially caused by Stephen and Connie dancing and fusing, then obviously, I think, Ruby and Sapphire fused, because initially they went undercover as just Ruby and Sapphire. Amethyst and Pearl fuse, and then I think two people who were just at the banquet fuse as well, kind of being like, oh, I knew there was more of me. And again, you get that classic reaction from Homeworld gems to fusion of like it's this revolting thing, and us still, I suppose, not knowing the full reason behind that. Why, given that it seems to be a latent ability of this like species, gems can fuse if they want to. Why is it such a problem? Of course, we know the problem that they seem to have is different types of gems fusing, because they actively use the fact that like all rubies can fuse together. That's fine. So, but it's the cross gem fusion that seems to be a major problem for them. Why is that the case? And obviously that still leaves like stuff like the diamonds open for like, maybe all the diamonds can fuse together to make something happen. That wouldn't be against what they're going for here. But still, there is always the issue of like, why is there this inherent issue with kind of cross-gem fusion? Is it just the diamond's way of maintaining power, that if they limit it to just like specific gems, given that all the gems seem to have a sort of speciality in terms of power, the diamond is just the naturally base level most powerful gem. So if they force basically only rubies to fuse, only sapphires to fuse, or whatever, there'll never be a power big enough to sort of oppose them, whereas they may be afraid of the fact that what if like every other type of gem fused together into something and was suddenly more powerful than even the diamonds kind of fused together, or something like that. That seems to be the sort of Homeworld society thing that we still need the ultimate like reveal on, I think, as to like why exactly is this such a problem for you. But ultimately led to everyone being poofed, Stephen and Connie being put in prison, and then the third episode happens, Escapism, which the start of it was fine, just like with the idea that Stephen plans to go to sleep, to send word back to Earth, to get reinforcements. He kind of feels that everything's going wrong. He came with good intentions, that he'd work to make a change. It wasn't happening. Connie sort of gives him a little bit of hope. He falls asleep, and then we just get this weird watermelon thing where like on the watermelon island there's like two different tribes, and Stephen like is found by one of them, tries to escape, ends up with the other one, and makes a life raft to get back to, you know, his house, and he sort of ends up sort of reuniting or creating a friendliness between both of these tribes. I guess what they were going for here was perhaps some sort of foreshadowing in that this is sort of the issue that Stephen is trying to deal with in the main story. It is two different groups who seem to have different views, different cultures, and he's trying to sort of bring them together, the very kind of free and open Crystal Gems view, his own view, versus the very stagnant and stale homeworld society, and he's trying to like mash them together all of a sudden, and it's not working, and they seem to be very much, you know, in this small version of the story, the foreshadowing here saying that Stephen is going to be the key to make any sort of a change happen, and that potentially like he might suffer in making that happen. But you know, how much you read into this as like a small story foreshadowing the bigger story, you know, I don't really want to read into it more than that, other than the fact that, you know, it was a weird episode to sort of have all of a sudden, especially going into a break before a sort of finale like double length episode. As I said, I don't think there's too much to analyze here, other than like, okay, so it seems like Bismuth is coming. Are Greg and Lion also going to come? I assume they'd maybe have to, because like as powerful, I suppose, as we've seen Bismuth be, it'd probably help if we had the support of everyone there. Lion could probably do a lot, just with the powers he has and so on. So, you know, we'll see exactly where we're heading. So yeah, I think a okay group of episodes. I don't think there was anything particularly like mind-blowing here. Just solid, advancing the plot, you know, continuing the whole Stephen struggling with his like identity, what way he wants to play, the fact that he will be listened to as Pink Diamond, but the Stephen aspect of Pink Diamond seems to be sort of ignored, and only him falling into line gets kind of talked about, which plays into, I suppose, Rose as Pink Diamond's sort of backstory of her being the youngest Diamond, and also sort of just being ignored, just being sort of handled in everything that she did, never really getting to make decisions of her own, and that's why she rebelled so much. So we're now seeing Stephen deal with that kind of exact problem, and I suppose it's going to be a thing for Yellow and Blue as the more friendly Diamonds to just have to accept that, you know, you have to allow Pink, Stephen, his own agency in this situation, that you can't just control him. This is the way he is, and you're not going to change that. White obviously remains the major problem in that we've really only seen her appear once. She sends as I said, White Pearl to the party, and there's still a little bit of a mystery around that, but you know, White Diamond just remains this enigma still about, you know, there's a deeper story here, and that she seems to just be the one above all type thing. So her just as a character is fascinating to see what they do, but you know, the show's in an okay place. I just hope that like when we get these next two episodes, we don't go on another really long break, and we get a sense for maybe, you know, okay, how many more seasons is the show going to go on for? Do we have an end kind of goal in mind, or what's happening? They definitely, the structure probably is the main thing that they need. They need just a solid release of episodes, and not to just have, you know, 3 episodes here, 4 episodes here with months between them. As I've said many times before, I think the airing schedule for this show is the show's biggest problem. Since like the last season or two, it's gotten past this issue of having I think a few too many episodes that maybe are like escapism, in that like season maybe like 3, maybe a little bit of 4, especially the earlier seasons, they'd always have like a big moment and like, okay, they should spring off from here and focus a little bit, but then they'd go back to members of Beach City kind of town episodes, and they just would never focus on what they needed to. They've been more focused in recent seasons. They just need to use that again and keep it going. So they're my thoughts on the most recent 3 episodes of Steven Universe. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on them. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.